Among the rolling hills, the beautiful views, and the grapevines stands the stunning Sonoma Raceway. This track, built in August of 1968, played host to its first race in SCCA Enduro only 4 months after ground was broken on the site. Over 43 years, the track has played host to the likes of IRL, NASCAR, Grand Am, WTCC, and many more. Now, in 2013, it plays host to the machines of the Formula Forza R1 Championship. Will downforce reign in California, or will a surprise frontrunner shock the field? Stay tuned. It's the Formula Forza Pre-Race Podcast, sponsored by JET Motorsport. Hello, and welcome. I'm your host, Derek James, and I am joined, as always, by Formula Forza Chairman Ryan McDowell and Jet Lotus Captain Brad James. Ryan, let's get right into the Silverstone results. How did Group A go?
Let's take a look at qualifying first for this Silverstone. We had predicted that the front runners would be a little further down than they really ended up being, and we thought some of the grippier cars would be a little higher than they are. The Buhlenwald 10% restriction still managed to go A7 with his 10% power restriction. Kind of phenomenal, considering the Bentley is not really considered a grip car here. Scurry 76 outqualified his teammate for the first time in a long time. XY 101 ended up being top of Group B. There was a very good battle between FMS Senna and Alex P for pole, and in the end, Alex P from Aces Wild was able to take pole by some of the slimmest margins we've ever seen in Formula Forza, and it was the closest qualifying we've seen all year. Johnny Two Shoes picks up third for Midnight Performance Development with a 132 dead. The top 10 all beat pole position from the 2012 season, so truly a huge accomplishment, and the biggest number we've seen like that this year. If you take the top 17 qualifiers, they would all be above third fastest qualified from the 2012 season. So just truly phenomenal to see that happen. The other thing we did see was PCR, new team, made it into Group B for their debut race. It ended up not making it to the race itself, but still showing that they're going to be a contender here, at least in Group B. Moving on to the race itself, we saw that the race was really close at the front for the first couple of laps, and then there appeared to be some contact between Alex P and race leader FMS Senna. As into the first lap or so, FMS Senna took the lead, and then it appeared to be somewhere between turn 1 and turn 6. There was some lag contact or something that left FMS Senna on the back foot trying to regain positions, and in one of the worst potential spots, he was kind of off in the grass into the hangar straight, pulled it back on track, and was able to recover a few positions. In the end, we had Alex P taking the checkered flag there, gathering the win. That's a pole to win for him and Aces Wild. Johnny Two Shoes gets his best ever result, second place for Midnight Performance Development. It was a great performance from him. BTR Canon for Team Repsol. That's incredible. That's Team Repsol's first podium of the season, and also BTR Canon's first podium of the season and his Formula Forza career. The Buhlenwald 5, even with his 10% power restriction, was able to work up to 4th, where Overdrive from Serpent Racing was 5th. BTR Villeneuve splitting off the other Serpent Racing. He's in 6th, with XPR Roadrunner just behind in 7th. Now, Roadrunner started 4th, so he had a bit of a mistake there, also on the hangar straight. Very early lap for him, and he just kind of got off to the side and fell several positions, able to make it back up to 7th, but not enough to totally make up to where he started from. TLR Eclipse went from 15th on the grid to 8th. That's phenomenal, picking up 5 overtake points that race. You had BTR Blazin start 10th, finished 9th, but that's a result of a lag out we had in the race. We had our UK Shadow, who did end up lagging out of the race from AVR, along with Scurry76, had a lag finish from 7th on the grid. He had a great start in every single one of our starts. We did have 3 restarts, and it was the final go that we ended up getting it, but he had some really good starts and showed some promise. It's too bad he ended up lagging out of that race. I believe he lagged out from 11th place, actually, just as FMS Senna passed him for 10th place. That was a great battle, and we'll see that later when the race footage is put up there, but that was a great pass by FMS Senna, getting around Scurry 76. We did have In Flames with a 5% restriction as well, ended up 11th, started 9th, so falling 2 positions there. Perhaps hindered by his power restriction, maybe mistakes or just being cautious, wanted to bank in some laps there. So we saw everybody with restriction finish off the podium, and Alex P picks up 10% heading into this coming weekend. How about Group B then?
Group B, the qualifying results for the top 3, XY101 sitting on pole in Group B with a 132.971, and sitting in second B2 was me, Magnum 278 with a 132.978, and rounding out the podium, well, the podium for qualifying for Group B was BTR Snakey with a 133.138. In the race, after one of our restarts, the race got underway with XY101 lagging a little bit. It wasn't like, like gamer lag. It wasn't like the online stuff was lagging. He got just kind of stalled off the start, kind of sluggish off the line, and I managed to get him into the inside and on the first corner, and by about lap 5 managed to open up about a 3,000 foot gap. But that's enough about me. The battle between XY, Chaos in Action, BTR Raikkonen, BTR Snakey, and James Hall pretty much raged for the entire race. Adam Watson at about, I think it was lap 11 or 10. No, it was later than that. It was around lap 30, actually. Pardon my mistake. He had actually controller issues. I don't know if it broke or it just cut out, but he had to actually retire because he wasn't able to continue due to controller issues. But after I had came in on lap 35, XY came in behind me. He and I kind of stayed out and waited out everybody else's pitting. But when he came out, the group of Chaos in Action, Raikkonen, Snakey, and James Hall had caught up to him, and they had actually kind of like coaxed him into making a mistake, and he slid back behind the rest of that group. And I had mic issues during the race, but from what I heard and what I gathered afterwards, that according to the drivers in it, that was probably the best race that they'd ever been in. And the top, I think it was 2nd through 6th, I believe, was within probably 20 seconds of each other at the end of the race, and that's amazing considering how long of a race this was. And there was one lag out, I believe, Alamar Pazumash. He ended up lagging out of the race, and Fire Dragon didn't make the finish either. But the top 3 at the end of Group B rounded out: Magnum 278 taking the win for JET Motorsport, Chaos in Action in 2nd for Tech Life Racing, and BTR Raikkonen in 3rd for LLBM Motorsports. But going into our points results, Brad, what do the points look like after Suzuka Silverstone, pardon?
Yeah, this is Britton, Derek. As you can see, if you look on the websites, actually the top runners, top 10, I would say, on up, are actually spreading apart quite quickly. Like, for instance, Bullenwall is nearly 110 or 100 points ahead of Alex P, and then BTR Villeneuve, who's behind Alex P, is like 60 behind him, and then 50, and then like 1 point between that would be Roadrunner and In Flames. 1 point separates them, so that's a pass. So all you have to do is make a pass, and then it's tied, or 2 passes.
10 points there, Bill Chacha.
Yeah, you're talking about FMS Senna,
FMS Senna
and
In Flames. Yeah. Excuse me. There. Same thing, a pass will do it, And then actually, if you look, 13th on through, I would say, 16th is really close. Within 10 or 12 or 13 points, if I can add. That's one position. That's a qualifying. Like if you get pole, there you go. Just moved up 4 spots, but Chaos in Action, RUK Shadow, XPR Eggy, and BTR Snaky there. Any of the actually you could exclude Eggy, he's not racing. So actually, Chaos, Shadow, and Snaky. Shadow has a good, I would say, has a decent chance of getting pole at Sonoma because it's a grip track. So that'll round out the points for drivers.
One thing I forgot to mention before we move on is that WennaJ, fastest lap on the very last lap of the race, a 1:31.872 is a lightning lap from him. So yeah, taking fastest lap of the race is Mr. Practice, Brad James.
Practice, 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 gentlemen.
Right. And then in Group B, 2 things I want to call out is we've got Chaos in Action in second, but he got there from 8th place. So that means he picks up the most overtakes of that race. And his teammate picked up the second most. So yeah, TLR, Tech Life Racing, really picking up the overtakes this week, or at least this past week. And TLR Penumbra, who is the new driver for Team Repsol, did quite well in his debut race. He started 11th, moved up to 10th, and it was a legitimate overtake for him, and finished within competitive range of the others. So yeah, it was really a good race, and I had heard that same thing, Derek, that it was a really good race in Group B.
Yeah, Brad, how did the team standings look?
Right now, the team standings are still with Pennzoil Zexel with the freaking ridiculous lead on Serpent Racing. Like, it's 170 points there at least. And then Serpent Racing is ahead of Aces Wild by 3 points. That's very close this many races in. And then about 50 or so, more like 40, between LLBM and Aces Wild. And then about 50 more between LLBM and Midnight. So that's the top 5. And moving on to the manufacturer standings, Bentley is still up top because of Pennzoil Zexel, number 1 driver, number 1 team, so you'd expect them to be pretty high up in the manufacturer standings. And actually, Panos, very high up. They're within 60 of Bentley, which is a lot considering they only have max 3 drivers racing for them because Drake Houseborn isn't racing. So that's pretty good for them. And then Toyota is in 3rd. Moving on to the interview with James Hall.
Yes, coming to you guys now is an interview that I did earlier in the week with my co-JET Motorsport driver, James Hall. And the reason we did this is because we were just trying to highlight more of his accomplishments in representing Formula Forza outside of the league. He is team chairman for the team FormulaForza.com team in any of the tour races or leagues or whatever you want to call them. And by what he's done, he has gained Formula Forza tons of publicity within Torah and outside of it. There are people approaching James all the time, whether they're Torah staff or whether they're just people racing the league wondering about Formula Forza. There's people asking him all the time, what's going on. And, I'd like to let you guys listen to the interview before I give away too much. But, yeah, it was a good interview. I hope you guys like it. Hey, guys. We have another interview for you. And we would like you guys to all welcome JET Motorsport driver James Hall to the podcast. We know that you're probably not clapping, but we appreciate it anyways. So, James, how did you come across Formula Forza?
Basically, I used to play a game called F1 2011, and there I met XPR Overdrive. and he said that he raced on Formula Forza, and that if we were serious about Forza racing, to go and check it out.
Yeah. Now, you ended up on Commonwealth Motorsport for the inaugural Mazda Cup season. Did you actually start the team, or were you brought on by the team owners?
Basically, it was a joint venture between myself and, at the time, Mopar 44.
Now, you guys had success during that season. Mopar was gunning for the championship. But what was the feeling overall being on that team? Did you appreciate it? Did you like your time there?
I enjoyed my time thoroughly, yeah. I learned a few tips and tricks, and I also learned on a few things on not how to set a car up, or to set a car up, for example. And mainly that's where I picked up most of my tuning tips.
Why did you not stay with Commonwealth Motorsport at the end of Mazda Cup? Because you actually joined JET during the off-season. What caused the move?
Basically, there was a conflict of interest behind the scenes, which caused a split of Commonwealth Motorsport, for which it to rebrand into Serpent Racing, as it's now known, for the R1 season. And I didn't want to carry on with the Commonwealth Serpent venture, so I decided to step back and look for another team.
So was it that JET just looked more promising, or was it you didn't want to stay at Commonwealth for R1?
There's many reasons why I joined JET. It's got a fantastic track record and history within Formula Forza. It's one of the best teams within Formula Forza to join, in which the decision was 50-50, because at one point I wasn't going to drive the R1. But then, with the conflict of interest, what happened, I thought it better to not leave on a bad note and race with a new team as well.
So, are you happy with your drive so far at JET Motorsport? Are you quite pleased with what's going on?
Oh, I'm over the moon with what happened and what's happening with JET. It's a fantastic club, and there's like a massive warm heart at the middle of it, which just makes it so lovable and fun to drive.
Now, what are your plans for the future? Are you going to move on from JET, or are you going to stick there and expand your how do I put this, your image within JET? Are you going to try and work harder to help out the team and yourself, or are you going to branch out?
I'm at the way things are going at the minute, I'm going to stay with JET, and hopefully for a while, because there's some fantastic drivers in the team, and they're basically just lovable and up for a good laugh, and they put up with a bubbly personality such as myself.
Alright, moving on from your driving, what is the most exciting thing that you've done in Formula Forza so far? Like anything, it could be driving, it could be, helping out on the side, but what is the best moment so far at Formula Forza?
I've got so many, to be honest, but the one that's standing out for me at the minute is representing Formula Forza in the Tourer Endurance Championship over on the Online Racing Association.
Now, you're representing Formula Forza over in Tourer. What pushed you to want to represent them outside the actual Formula Forza league?
Formula Forza is just a great league where all the drivers are up for a laugh. there's no real sense of rivalry. It's just mates looking for clean racing, organised online racing, and it's produced some of the best racing I could have possibly been involved with. And in this way, I wanted other people to join in and see how great the racing is, how great the community sense is within Formula Forza, and so I wanted to represent them.
Now, you guys on the Formula Forza team over in Tora have seen some relative success over there. Now, do you have any more plans?
Hopefully I can bring on another team, because we're actually currently in progress working on a one-off Prototype 1 team for the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the end of June. That's going to be managed by myself and BTR Blazing, and we're just going in for even more exposure. But if we get the success as well, it's a massive bonus.
What are the plans for the GT team?
The plans for the GT team is to hopefully announce our fourth driver in the next coming days and start it in the track testing.
Now, you say that you're representing Formula Forza. What would you say to somebody who asked you about the league? How would you, let's say, persuade them to join Formula Forza? What are the plus sides, and what would you tell them?
I would say, well, it happened at the 12-hour lobby I was in. People were asking and inquiring about the website, just wanting to know what the website was about, and basically I was like, it's clean, fair, organised online racing between friends who want to race hard and are sometimes not afraid to push the limits, but not too far over that requires the attention of the stewards. And then I explained to them about the rules and the qualifying. And people were liking the idea of the open qualifying system that's at Formula Forza.
Thank you for coming on, James. It's been a pleasure.
No worries, anytime.
Alright, everybody, that was James Hall. And now, Brad, LLBM V8's Sunset Peninsula results. How did it go?
First race of the year or the season that would be actually, for the inaugural V8 Supercars series for LLBM. Turning out actually surprising to me, I guess, with Serpent Racing taking the front row there in qualifying. You know, other than that, you know, another big surprise actually would be Skolzy Slash, very high up. You know, usually he's, you know, not trying to make him sound bad, but he's usually, you know, at least in Formula Forza Group B, like trying to make the race, like fighting for the 30th spot, and he's like, what was it, 4th for qualifying? It's ridiculous for him, at least for me. So big praise for Skolzy Slash there. And moving on to the race, Alex P grabs the win. No surprise there. You know, I mean, who knows if he's an actual human or not. And his teammate XPR Venom takes second there. So, you know, and they're actually locking out the first 2 positions of points, which means they have the team points locked out there. And one of the things that they keep the standings, or at least trying to keep the standings up on, are the manufacturers championships, kind of like the same thing we do for Formula Forza, but there's a lot more Holdens than there are Fords, so it'd be almost obvious that Holden has more points than they do, but, you know, try to keep up with that when we go through the rest of the season here, because keep in mind, it's the first race, and it's every weekend for what, 2 months, 3 months. So this will be pretty enjoyable here at least.
If you do the manufacturer championship the same way that Formula Forza does it, you end up with just the top 2 drivers from each manufacturer. So you still look at 190 points for Holden from that Serpent Racing lockout at the front there, with Ford having 145 points for their 3rd and 7th place finish in that first race there at Sunset.
Brad, what are the points like? I know, just give you guys a little update. The actual results for the Sebring race that happened this weekend are not up on the LLBMV's website. We don't know if they're having a technical glitch with the race page, but they just aren't up right now. But the points are actually updated to what they currently are after Sebring. So, Brad, what are the points like?
The driver standings, at least, tied for first place would be Alex P and XPR Venom, which is kind of funny. You know, they both, I believe the points are updated for Sebring. Is that true?
Yes, they are.
So what I'm reading off here is the points are for both of the races, but I don't have the results. But since Alex P and XPR Venom are tied, we can assume that they both won a race. Which is that true? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
it is.
Yeah. So they both have 190 points, and then the second is Formula Forza participant BTR Snaky, or as I once called him, Snacky. I got caught so much crap for that. And fourth is BTR Villeneuve with 125, and 1 point behind him is TR Eclipse, and that's the top 5 there. And I'm going to move on to the team standings. And first is Serpent Racing with 380, and in second is BTR Seabon Racing. And, you know, it's not even close, actually. It's kind of like the gaps that we're seeing now in the team points between Pennzoil, Zexel, and the rest of the field. But it's only after 2 races, so, I mean, I guess we can see a trend forming here in V8 supercars. So, let's shift gears here and go into the community section.
Yes, we have our videos of the week. You know, like we say it every week, Brad and I each choose our favorite automotive-related video, and we like to share it with you guys in the comment section of the videos and see what you guys think. My video, Formula Drift Long Beach 2013, AW Films, Abbott Wilkerson, actually a brother of one of the professional drifters, Walker Wilkerson, caught the 2 crashes during qualifying on one of his cameras. It was Justin Pollock and Matt Field, I believe so. Yeah, I think it was Matt Field. But 2 of the drivers actually smacking the wall on the second clipping point of the actual course that weekend during qualifying. One of them, the S14, went in rear first. Actually, not that bad of damage. They just had to straighten that back out. But the Ford of Justin Pollock actually slammed into the wall with the rear end. It managed to turn the car around and hit with the front end, so that trashed the front of the car, actually killed the motor. But incredibly, Falcon Tire Racing got his car back together, and he actually finished out qualifying. And I think it was just a cool video to see. I mean, it's not always the best thing for somebody to wreck during qualifying, but I mean, it's a really cool shot, so I think you guys will like it. Brad, what was your video?
Well, actually, I have a question for you, Derek. Because I'm not sure. I don't know if you're sure how it works, but how does qualifying work for Formula D?
This year, they actually updated the qualifying, as opposed to 3 judges actually just giving out their scores out of 100 with factors like their speed, how close they got to the clipping points. This year, they actually went electronic. They have sensors for the clipping points, and they have speed guns up for the speed trap and part of the qualifying, and they get a score. Well, there's a 15 points out of 100 the driver can get for their speed. If I believe they had an average speed this weekend that they have to beat of like I think it was like around 72 miles an hour going into the first clipping point, and with that, they actually for every mile per hour over up till 5 over, they got like quarters of a point, 3/4 of a point. Then for every mile per hour over that, they got 1 point. So I think you could get up to like, I think 15 points on that if you're really ballsy going into that first clipping point. And then they had their angle that they took into consideration. I don't remember how many points that is, and then they have how close they got to the 3 clipping points around the track, and then they had the actual individual score from the judges, which last year and the previous 9 years of Formula D, they actually had to like get it all on a whiteboard and draw it out and add up all the points like in their head. But this year, because they went electronic, they gave all the judges and all the scorers, I believe they're iPads. They didn't say, but they're tablets, quote unquote. But to where they just put in their scores, what they think, and it all adds up to 100. In the qualifying, they do 2 rounds this year. Actually, each driver gets through twice. There's 34 plus drivers, and there's 32 spots in the competition. And with the first round, you go through once. The top 16 out of that first run out of everybody is stuck. They don't have to qualify anymore, and then the other 16 go through, 16 plus go through and battle for the rest of that. And that's how they do qualifying. It's very complicated, and I still don't quite understand it. But somehow it ends up being 100, and somehow it works out that everybody's scores get equated. It's whatever. Just when you watch qualifying, just know that a lot of crap happens to go into that 100-point score.
Alright, moving on to my video. My video is titled, very cleverly if you ask me, So You Think You Can Stance. So you think you can dance the show, whatever. Yeah, I don't think any of you guys watch that. But it's basically an up, like going up, I guess you could say like a drive or a bump, like a change in elevation of road in slammed cars. And the goal here is not to scrape like your bumper or like the bottom of your car, anything going up or down. And it's pretty funny, guys freaking out when nice cars are about to scrape their front bumper on the pavement. And there's one of the parts that I really recommend is there's red MR2 that's going down the elevation change, and it's just about to hit, and everybody just starts screaming like, don't do it, you're gonna ruin it, because it's like it's a really nice MR2, easily worth, I'd say, 50 grand plus, like at least that. So really recommend watching that. And actually, Derek, I think you have something to say about an LLBM thing.
Yes, actually, for the V8 Huffy Motorsports, BSMD Huffman, a lot of people call him Huffy. They call him Huffy, is his, I believe, his Twitter handle. But his team is actually running a thing this year where you can design the paint job for their LLBM V8's team, and they will run it. They have a competition every week where you can submit liveries to Huffy Motorsports, either on Twitter, which is at Huffy Motorsport, all lowercase, all one word, or you could do it, you could send it to them, or you could do whatever, and they take all the entries that week, and they choose the best one, the one they like, and they'll race it for that week for their team. I think this is really cool. I mean, I wish we could do it for JET Motorsport, but a certain painter on our team would not like that. But
that's not going to happen. I'm not letting that happen.
Exactly. But I think it's a really cool thing. I think it's a good way to draw interest in the team, and I really thought it was a cool thing, so I thought I'd share it. If you guys have a design you think you should do for their V8, contact Huffy, go to their Twitter, talk to them, figure out what you need to do your design, and submit it. I mean, I preferably would like to see at some point a giant Hello Kitty on the hood. I want to see Pedo Bear on the side. I want to see the craziest design ever, but make it cool. I want to see something that blows my mind and or makes me laugh so hard that I wreck my car. I love the idea, and I think you guys should really go for it. Now, changing gears here, Sonoma predictions.
Actually, I want to say something there.
All right, go ahead, Brad.
This is really one of the few opportunities here for you fans to actually get involved with the racing. Because us drivers, we just drive, You guys can actually design the paint job, and it'll be used. That's that seems like a very great opportunity because then it can show your personality and your preference. And one more thing to add to that paint job thing, please make a JET Motorsport one and put it in. Just please make it. Just troll Huffy Motorsports and get a JET Motorsport livery on there. So actually, let's go on to the Sonoma predictions. You guys ready?
Ryan, what do you think?
Oh, I'm ready. This track is gonna be a really hard one to call because Formula Forza has never been here. We don't have last year's data to go off of or anything.
You say that every week.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, honestly, we haven't been here before, so it's really hard to call. The only thing we can go on is the winter testing. Winter Test 4 took place at Infineon Long, the exact layout we're going to run this coming Sunday, and the best time out of that was the Bullen Wall 5, surprise, surprise, with a 1:16.1. Next fastest time was from Alex P with a 1:16.5. That being said, a lot of people have learned a lot about their cars in this season and how to tune them and whatnot. So I'm expecting that we're going to see 1:15s for pole. And the thing that we didn't have during winter test were the Lolas. So who knows? Maybe this will be FMS Senna's week to shine in that Lola. It's gonna be difficult to call, but
it's definitely gonna go to a grip car, though.
I would like to think so, but the Bullen Wall was so dominant here. He won every test we did.
Yeah.
He'll still have 5% power restriction, but this is a grip course, and there's not many straights for him to be hindered by that power restriction. So I'm not thinking his power restriction is going to hurt him as much here as at least we thought it was going to at Silverstone. Proved it didn't even matter anyway. He still ended up exactly where he wanted to be, 4th position at Silverstone. So my guess, he'll be 4th at the Sonoma GP because that's where he intends to be, and he's got.
So we already know the race results.
I really think that one of the things.
Well, no, just 4th.
I really think one of the reasons he's so fast though is because like the way he makes his tunes is that he's light years quicker than everybody else is in like the straights. Like he's so much faster. Like it's like in excess of like 5 to 10 miles an hour, and then we're going like 180 or something, like about to max out your car. I don't know what the max is here for Sonoma, but when you're about to max out the top speed of your car and you get an extra 5 miles an hour going into a corner at the end of the straight, that's such an advantage. And the lap times wise, that's ridiculous too. So I think that's why he's a lot faster than everybody else, at every other place, because his car is so much quicker, like speed wise. But then he also gets it to be somehow grippy. Like I don't really understand how he does it, but I think that's the main reason why he's so fast. It's because he's an alien, actually.
He sprays his little fairy dust on it, and it can grip better than the Lola can. I mean, logic would point you in the direction of a grip car this weekend, getting the pole, but, we've pretty much been wrong every time we predicted in the favor of the grip cars. Every time we're like, well, we're pretty sure a grip car is going to do good this weekend. Bullen's just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen, and then he just destroys our qualifying predictions. So, I mean, we do make our predictions, but it's almost recommended to not listen to it because Bullen's just going to prove us wrong anyways.
Well, that also being said, in the Winter Test 4, we didn't have In Flames, and
in the same car as Bullen.
Right, exactly. So that'll be interesting to see that battle, come out. And Serpent Racing got much stronger from when Winter Test was going on to where they're at now, and they're sitting 2nd in the championship. I mean, I don't expect them.
So has LLBM, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. LLBM
They've
has
gone leaps
proven
and bounds
that
quicker.
they're Toyota. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt they have.
But I think their performance will suffer this weekend, though, because at least from what I've heard from their drivers is that they're kind of like suffering because they're, the quote-unquote Toyota is just not good enough for Sonoma. It's not grippy enough, so I feel like their performance is going to suffer. I would really be surprised if they get top 10 in Group A, qualifying-wise.
Well, this will be Johnny Two Shoes' first time with power restriction. He'll have a 5% for his second place at the British GP. So I don't predict him in the top 5 qualifiers, where he was third at the British GP qualifying. I don't predict him in the top 5 at all.
You're going to see the grip cars this weekend gain a little bit of advantage. Like we said, it's Silverstone, the guys that are kind of on the bubble, Group A, Group B. You're going to see guys that have the grippier cars, gain the advantage this weekend and, make their way up into Group A. The guys that are already in Group A with grip cars move up a little bit. But there's probably not going to be anybody that's just going to blow our minds with the grip car this weekend. We pretty much know what's going to happen. So, there's really not much we can speculate about.
Yeah, the thing I think will be interesting is that this track has a bunch of cambered corners and kind of odd brake zones, some pretty slippery rumble strips and whatnot. So I think a lot of this is going to be, you're going to see positions gained via mistakes from the driver ahead. And we're talking about like turn 2. If you get that entry wrong, that's the right-hander as you kind of go up the hill after the start. If you get that entry wrong, you're totally messed up, and you'll lose a lot of time just trying to regain traction. And then turn 3 is kind of tricky, and you can lose half a second there if you're not well versed at how to take that. And you can also slip off the left side on exit if you get too much over that rumble strip or carry too much speed in there. The other thing is, I don't think we're going to see too many people hitting walls. But with that being said, this is a concrete start, so we will do our 30-foot gaps instead of 20-foot gaps at the start here. But the entry into turn 1 and 2 is so quick, and you got to shave that wall really close. It's almost like Sebring turn 1, where and we saw several people clip that in the race. I think that could be another factor here as well.
So if you could make your car a little less wide, you'll be quicker. That's kind of a weird joke.
If you take a Ducati race bike out there, you're going to win.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one that's pretty interesting is into as you come out of turn 10. So there's 12 turns on the circuit. 10 is the end of the S's, I suppose, on the back section of the course, towards the end of sector 3. The pit lane is on your left, and there's a tire wall there that separates pit lane, and it is actually a barrier that separates pit lane from the drive line, or the racing line, and you want to be like as close to that wall as you can. And I think we're going to maybe see some, not nudging, but I think we're going to see some close racing that might leave somebody pulling an FMS Senna right into that pit wall there, and that is a possibility that you could see a total a wreck out right there into the pit lane. Now, pit here is horrendously long. You enter before turn 11. It's just after turn 10 on the left, and it kind of makes you do a 180 around turn 11, and your car is just still going as it goes through turn 12, and then the pit lane is right there next to the start grid. You get kind of ejected off the racing line, so I don't think we have to worry about people swerving over into traffic. But it's gonna be kind of interesting, and that pit is gonna feel forever.
Yeah, it's
long
actually
for how short the laps are here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's actually a 2.5-hour race because you're actually in the pits for 45 minutes. It's just that long. It just adds that much time onto the race. As soon as you pit, you're just like done. You're gonna be like, maybe I'll come out in front of him. No, you won't. You're in there for 45 minutes, so you're here for the ride.
Hey, I'm in the pits. Let me go watch my favorite TV show.
Yeah, we do peg out on laps here. It is a 50-lap race, and because you can only set the lobbies for 50 laps, that'll actually mean 49 laps of true racing. But yeah, we'll see it be a little bit shorter race than it is normally. But I don't expect this to be short on action at all. I think that you're going to see a lot of people trying to get every ounce out of the car that they can, and this is a dangerous track to push the car beyond its limits. You'll just slide right off, or worse, you'll hit some of those tire barriers that I was talking about. So Yeah, I mean, I think this could prove to be a pretty interesting race coming up. Not that we haven't had, I don't think we've really had a boring race yet.
Just everyone
yeah,
this
could be one of our more exciting ones. Yeah, right. So here's one thing I want to have us predict. Where is Brad gonna fall in qualifying?
Pretty much last, because he's going to be lazy and not qualify.
This is the most unfair podcast I've ever been in.
You've never been in any other podcast.
Let's say keys to this circuit. What do we think? What do you think the keys are to getting a great lap here?
Turn 1 and 2. That is a very tricky section to get down if it's like your first 3 or 4 practice sessions. Because you got to crest the hill at turn 2. You got to take a weird line into there. Because you got to hug turn 1 really, really close to the wall, to the tire barriers, if you want to get turn 2 correctly. Because you got to swing way wide into turn 2 and then turn in real quick and like almost clip like what you think would be the racing line to catch that inside rumble strip to get the line perfectly. It's just a weird corner to get down. It's kind of freaky the first time you take it at race speed. You're just like, did I do that correctly? But another place is turn 6. Throttle, I don't know, this may not, other people may not think alike with me, but if you throttle on at a weird point there, it could send you off the track, or you could, try and be more patient but lose speed there. It's all about when you throttle on there, because, I mean, the braking point is right as you crest the hill, and you just kind of glide through most of that corner, and it's all about how ballsy you're going to be exiting that corner, whether you're going to, throttle on 3/4 of the way through the corner as right as you're exiting the corner. So, I mean, that may not be such a key corner, but it's an area where you could definitely lose time. And going down through the S's, you could definitely lose time in there if you don't, because there's certain cars, the grippy cars, should not have problems like not braking through 8 and 9. Maybe you'd have to tap them. Maybe just slow down the car a bit enough. You could kind of jump the curbs a little bit and shave a little time off. But the S's section isn't too terrible. 10 and 11, if you're in traffic, that is going to be hell on earth. If you're in traffic going into there, it's going to be so scary going into 11, that first lap, and everyone coming in together is going to be like, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make this. But pretty much key corners, 1, 2, 6, the S's, make sure you get that right. And make sure you're careful going into 11 in traffic.
What do you think, Brad? What do you think the keys are to this track?
I think the key is have a perfect setup. Work on your setup so much, because there's a lot of tracks like Suzuka. If you have a good setup for there, you can actually use that for quite a lot of tracks on the schedule, like Motegi. Heck, I even used my Suzuka setup with a little bit of tweaks of the gearing at Sebring and actually Road America. So here you have to change the gearing up so much. You go from like a track like Road America with like really long gearing to, I'd say a medium gearing track at Silverstone, and then you go to Sonoma, which is like probably the shortest gearing on the track. So you really got to work on that, but also you got to work on the grip of the car. You're going to be running definitely, unless you're mentally insane, you're going to be definitely running full downforce here, and probably a lot of grip, or not probably, definitely a lot of grip, as much as you can get, because there really is no speed part to this track except for into the last corner, or second to last corner. You're only running a lot of speed there, so otherwise, full downforce, as much caster I would think is possible, because there's a lot of quick corners here, where you have to have a lot of turn in and control over the car. So those are my keys. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, I think Derek's right. Turn 2 is a spot where you lose, a lot of time, even though you think you're being quick through there. You go into turn 3, and I know that's another area where, the people that I know that are quick at this track have just this crazy line through there and carry so much more speed than I seem to be able to carry through there, and they're able to, make up nearly half a second there in turn 3. The other spot is turn 6. Now, turn 6 sets you up for one of two straights for this track. There is on the exit of 6, you get a bit of a run then before you get down to turn 7, and then when you come off turn 7, you're into the S's then. The balance of the car's got to be absolutely perfect, because these rumble strips will set you into a spin if you get the car out of balance here. The exit of turn 8, which is kind of difficult to say because turn 8, the Infineon calls it, or Sonoma calls it, is like 3 turns all in one that they just call turn 8. But on the exit of that, it's a right-hander that a lot of people will lift or brake for, and if you can get through there with just lifting, not braking, and get back on the power for 9, that sets you up for the straight that's after 10 down into 11, the one that Brad was talking about. So those are really your two only high-speed areas on this track, and your exit out of 11 is very important so that you can have a good run into turn 2. Overtaking points is really difficult to say where is going to be the best overtaking, but I think we're going to see some attempts down into turn 11 and down into turn 7. Right, so that's pretty much all I have on the keys for the track, where I think the critical spots are to shave time. But I can say that I am certainly glad I'm not racing this track. I much prefer Mazda Laguna Seca to Infineon, and some people think that's blasphemy. Some people really like Infineon, and I personally don't understand it. I really like Mazda Laguna Seca, but I understand for variety's sake that we needed to mix things up and go with Infineon this year.
Sort of.
I don't understand why people like. I don't understand why people like racing in sand. Anyways, I think it's stupid. Grass is where it's at, definitely.
Yeah, but at least when you hit sand, you slows the car down. Where if you hit grass, most of the time you actually speed up. It doesn't.
Yeah, but if you hit grass,
slow the car down.
If
it's Forza grass, yes, you stop.
Yeah, but you don't get.
But real life grass, no.
Yes. Yeah. You're not gonna get stuck in grass unless it's like gnarly, like grip grass.
Forza grass.
Yeah. We need to patent that, Forza grass.
Okay, so Derek, your predictions, even if they're wild guesses, what's your prediction for podium?
Podium? Oh no. Bulenwald's not going to be on the podium. There's no way. So I would either pick the Ferraris of Serpent Racing, maybe another grip car. You're going to get probably who are you going to get? You're going to get the AVR guys up there. You're going to get Senna, and you're going to get AVR guys. You're going to get Senna and Shadow up there because they're in the Lola. You're going to get a lot of the grip cars going to be out there. The Mazda, actually, Brad's been complaining about it all week, but I've been in a lobby with one of the other teams that runs Mazdas, and it's decently quick around here if you get a tune down. And that could be a surprise because you expect the Mazda is going to be a bit slow around here because it's not a wide open track where you can get its legs going, but it can really surprise you around here. But, top 3 Ferraris and the grip cars. That's all I got. I'm not really going into names.
All right, Brad, what do you think?
I guarantee that Bulenwald finishes 5th or 4th. 4th, I guarantee it. And actually, I think that Senna's going to get the win here. He's unrestricted, so he has the best, and he's in a grip car, which I think is going to win here. And I actually think that Roadrunner's going to get 2nd then, and I couldn't really tell you for 3rd, but other than that, that's my predictions.
All right, so here's my prediction. I'm going to go kind of crazy man here, and I will say In Flames comes off of his 5% power restriction. We know that the Bentley is fast here. We know In Flames is ridiculously fast. I'm going to say that it's Senna for pole.
Good Lord,
and
man.
then
You're
In
insane.
Flames for... I know. And then it's going to be in Flames for the win, Senna 2nd, and then one of the Serpent Racing, I'm going to say XPR Roadrunner, he seems due for 3rd here, but it could be Overdrive as well. He outplaced his teammate last race. So it could be Overdrive there in that third spot. And then, of course, Buhlenwald is my prediction for fourth again. But lots of people going to be gunning for that top spot here at Sonoma, considering that you've got, if you do pick up the win here, you'll have 10% restriction for Nürburgring, 5% restriction then for Mugello, and then back to 0% restriction for the season finale at Le Mans on June 2nd. So this is very strategic. Whoever wins this, it's going to work out quite well in their favor. And, I don't know if In Flames, we talked about this when In Flames first picked up his power restriction at Motegi, how well that was going to work out for him, but this may be playing right into his hands, because he picked it up at Motegi, then was restricted for Road America and at Silverstone. If he wins here at Sonoma, he'll be restricted for Germany and Mugello, and then be back to full power for Le Mans, where all the glory's on the line there for who wins the finale. So that's my prediction for podium. And do you guys have any final thoughts for Sonoma?
Well, I think that the gap is really too big for Flames to make up to Bull and to actually be competitive in the championship. Nearly 200 points. That's a lot to make up. Where if he wins this race, that's 100 points, and if he gets pulled, that's 20. But that's 100 points right there, and then he'll be restricted for the next two. So then he won't be getting as much points as he can there. So I don't think I don't have anything against Flames, but I don't think he has a chance with the championship.
So pretty much Bullen's got it sealed up by now.
I don't really know what Alex has to say. Has something to say with it.
Yeah, it's still possible for In Flames. I mean, mathematically it is possible. Based on track record, this looks to only be a two-horse race here between Buhlenwald and Alex P. And at this rate, it would take a pretty big mistake from Buhlenwald for even Alex P to take the championship from him. But it is still mathematically possible for In Flames to take the championship here. We've got 4 races left, and as a driver, the maximum you can earn is 120 points per race, pole to win. And you're talking about a 200-point gap between Buhlenwald and In Flames with 4 races left. So, he only needs half those races to make up that gap. But that would mean that the Buhlenwald doesn't race any more this season. We know that's not going to happen. And he averages his lowest scoring race was at Hockenheim with 59 points. So you got to bet on at least that every race. And especially if he is... he's going to have 5% restriction here. If he can pull off another 4th, which is 68 points, I mean, there's only so much damage you can do. He basically, you'd have to win every race with Buhlenwald getting 4th to the end of the season, and we know that's not going to happen come the season finale. He's going to be gunning for that win at Le Mans. I mean, who wouldn't be? The interesting question will be, where will Buhlenwald want to place himself at Nürburgring, right? Because he could be on podium there at Nürburgring, because that'll be his first race without power restriction again, after his win at Road America. Is that correct? Yeah, Nürburgring. So if he gets, let's say, 2nd there, he'll get 85 points. If he can get the pole there, he's looking at 105 points, and then he's got a 5% into Mugello, and then back to 0% for Le Mans. So I really think that he's got this one kind of wrapped up already. But honestly, we're talking about In Flames in 5th, and we're talking about his chances for taking the championship. If that tells you something about still how possible this is and how unpredictable it is, I do see In Flames. I do think that this will turn into a battle between In Flames and Alex P. We are looking at about a 120-point gap there. I guess it's a 130-point gap there between Alex P and In Flames currently. But, man, that's going to be a close race. I think In Flames will end up 3rd in the championship, even though he didn't make the first 2 races, which is really saying something, because you look at Alex P and Buhlenwald, and they both scored a win and a second place and a podium, and a pole position in the first two races. So you're talking 200 points just in those first two races, and to say that In Flames is going to come third, that's a pretty big statement to say that he even has a chance against those front two without those first two races under his belt. Any further thoughts on that?
No, I think you get it pretty much covered.
Right then, so join us next time when we're reviewing the race from Sonoma, and we're looking forward to the race at Nürburgring GP. That's in another 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, guys.
Next time, guys. See you later.
Have fun at Suzuka, the worst track of all time.
Sonoma.
Yeah, never mind. Suzuka is one of the best tracks ever.
Yeah, you say that now.
You're fired, Brad.
Practice!
Meow!